In this video today, we'll be discussing the power of Godzilla vs. Kong. This includes the movie, novelization, comic books, Dominion and Kingdom Kong. We'll also be using author quotes and all the other good stuff to figure out how exactly the MonsterVerse scales now, what upgrades has it got, any nerfs, all that, and we'll be focusing on the main trio, Godzilla, Kong, and Mechagodzilla. And won't be discussing too many characters outside of that beyond mentions. So everyone, let's begin with Godzilla. So to start off with Dominion. Dominion is the prequel comic to Godzilla vs. Kong. It takes place, it doesn't say exactly in the comic 2021, but the novelization and some other stuff makes it pretty clear it takes place 2021. Because we know that there is a 5-year time gap between King of the Monsters and GVK. At the end of the comic begins the 3-year rest period that we learned about in GVK. So this comic takes place 2 years after the Battle of King Ghidorah. And it shockingly gives Godzilla some nice stuff in it. The big thing in the comic is Godzilla, they stated many times, is basically near death at this point. He's been fighting for 2 years straight, constantly. We know this also from King of the Monsters after credits. He's constantly busy. He never gets to sleep. He's never gotten to recover with his near-death battle with King Ghidorah. He's starving, and like I said, he's just fixing the world, fighting titans, all that. Basically, he's non-stop busy. Just imagine how you would feel going just a day constantly fighting, working, to fix, a bunch of stuff, not eating, all that. He does this for 2 years straight. Never gets to recover from any battles, anything. Just keeps on fighting. In this comic, he stands up against Scylla at the start. So she gets some nice buffs in a way. But like I said, he's heavily nerfed in this comic. This is 2 years after near-death battle with Ghidorah. And again, he's always fighting. He never gets to rest or anything. So he's nowhere near full power. He's extremely weakened in this comic. Fights Scylla. She's able to do some damage to him, although his durability is likely on the low end due to the fact that he's covered with injuries and wounds, and his durability just would not be up to par since he's never gotten to heal. And Scylla ends up giving him a little bit of beating, but she's hungry, and she tries to get a nuke. He's not afraid of the nuke, and even in this state, he nearly one-shot Scylla. He smacks her once with a tail whip, that ends up sending her flying, literally bouncing across the water like if you're trying to skip a pebble. And she flees. She swims so fast for her life, panicking from that one tail whip, that she actually outswims Godzilla. That's how terrified she was. After one tail whip, she thought she was going to die and would never challenge him again. That just goes to show the kind of power Godzilla has against these titans. Going on now, though, that's the big thing with this comic, is his stamina. His stamina's got a huge increase, even after fighting for all night against King Ghidorah and near death, covered in injuries, all that. He still, for 2 years straight, never heals, never rests, always fights, which is pretty insane, if I'm going to be honest here. They also do show some intelligence stuff for him in the comic. He clearly does care about environmental casualties, as he does not want the nuke to blow up and destroy the environment. He's not afraid for like his safety or Scylla's safety or anything. They'll be fine. They can tank it. Godzilla does that all the time. But he just does not want the environment hurt. So it does show he does have some care for the environment and stuff like that. Not to mention later on, he goes on to actually piece together and state that he compares the humans to King Ghidorah. There's humans that the eco-terrorists that captured Nakika or whatever at a old Monarch oil sort of drill, and he ends up comparing them to Ghidorah, and it just goes shows intelligence that yes, he does think. He thinks a lot in this comic. He thinks about Serizawa. He remembers his face, remembers Mothra, and Mothra's energy keeps him going. So yes, this comic does in fact give him some nice intelligent stuff. We do see he's a great thinking creature with lots of emotions, and he cares a lot about the environment. Like I said, too, now, he blows up this old oil rig. There are some calcs for that. One of the calcs can get you 64 kilotons. Another one gets you 206 kilotons. These are town level plus and large town level feats. There's also some, there's a city level calc, too, but there's no reason to discuss that right now. But there is the potential to get it up the city, too. Just for a pretty casual feat of him just blowing up an old oil rig. We also do learn in the comic, because he has to find his old home, that he did indeed get beat by a Kong when he was younger. And while I will discuss this Kong more later on, it does go to show, because thanks to the author Greg Keyes, we end up learning that basically in ancient times, Godzilla was a lot younger and therefore he's a lot weaker. So we get, again, from another author of the MonsterVerse stuff, the ancient Godzilla was much weaker than current Godzilla. Nowhere near the same power. Like, the old Godzilla, the one that was tanking asteroid stuff, yeah, the new one would beat him quite a lot more. So that's very nice to get another confirmation of that. Then, we also do learn in the comic, he has some new abilities and stuff. He can see radiation clearly, that's how it's presented. He gets blinded during battle at one point. His eyes are just completely gone, basically. Like, they're not, like, ripped out, but he can't see anything. Yet he can still make out the person he's fighting. He literally says he has other ways to see. And he literally, like, makes out... I don't even know if it's their heat signature or what. They don't explain. But he can literally lose his eyesight and keep fighting. It's really crazy. And then on top of that, he has some sort of telepathy, as he's able to know what all the Titans around the world are kind of doing at the same time. He can sense them. He can read them basically from across the world. They show it multiple times that he can connect to all of them. At the end of the comic, he just kind of closes his eyes and tells them all to go to sleep, and they do. So he can telepathically communicate with all the Titan stuff. So Godzilla does have a form of telepathy. Very nice, very interesting. We also do learn from a recent behind-the-scenes thing that between 2014 King of the Monsters, Godzilla did in fact train.
But his recent training has made him bigger and more ferocious than ever.
Is it just me, or...?
Yes, Godzilla can train. This is something he can do. Just like Showa Godzilla, MonsterVerse Godzilla does have the intelligence to go out and train. So he was able to train, and he stated to, at his current King of the Monsters GVK point, to be the most powerful he's ever been in his entire life. He's the biggest and most powerful he's ever been. So that's pretty cool, right? Moving on to GVK now. There's currently 0 statements of Godzilla being weaker or stronger in this. He was weakened during Dominion heavily. It was probably one of the weakest we've seen him throughout the entire MonsterVerse. But he did get 3 years of rest, and he was presented, not to be weakened or stronger at all. Nothing stated. He got 3 years to heal and sleep, and that's about it. One feat Godzilla does have in the movie that a lot of people don't talk about is he flips a bulk cargo vessel. Now, from what I was looking up, I would say due to Kong's weight, the more appropriate size of this would be anywhere from 80,000 to 203,000 tons. And basically, this is explained in novelization. This is a special type of cargo boat held to carry Titans up to 100,000 tons. And seeing as Kong would have to be, that means Kong, without a given weight, is 100,000 tons at absolute most. Likely he doesn't weigh that much, because that would weigh more than Godzilla. I would assume he weighs more, about 75,000 tons. And Godzilla just kind of swimming up real fast, just completely flips his cargo ship over casually, just kind of with some momentum and just a headbutt. He seems like he can do it pretty fine. And that's a lot more weight than King Ghidorah that he's flipping all at once. So yeah, that's pretty insane. To talk about one of the feats I'm sure everyone is here for and very curious to hear about. So first up, I do want to say that in the intro of the movie, they do confirm that at bare minimum, Godzilla's atomic breath would be 20,000 degrees Celsius. So that's the absolute lowest it can go, 20,000 degrees Celsius. That's a lot less hot than something like Showa's beam or something. But again, this is just the bare minimum. They even say in the intro that they believe it's likely beyond this. So just for the absolute lowest end, it would be 20,000 degrees Celsius. This is a method you can use to calculate the whole Earth beam, and there's some other methods. Going through some of the methods and stuff, though, some of the more consistent kind of calcs I've seen for this feat. Now, with this, there's a time frame in the movie. This time frame, literally, in movie time, it's about 3 minutes. You can make arguments for 2 minutes. In the novel, there's you can almost imply it's saying this happens in 10 seconds. There's a lot there, because movie time does not equal real time. So in this, though, if we go off the 3 minutes, say the beam took 3 minutes to reach the core of the Earth, and yes, there's multiple statements that this is in fact the core of the Earth. It's literally shown in the movie. Per second, his atomic breath would be about giving out something around 26.27 gigatons, which is island level per second. the full time, there's full-time calcs. After those 3 minutes, he would have had to put out 8.119 teratons, which is country level. Pretty consistent. Again, it kind of depends how you want to do it, because the per second is how much he's hitting you at that moment, but it builds up over time. So it's kind of important how much he let out on you at once, because that does dig in over time. There are some high-end calcs too, because of the fact that in the novel and some stuff in the movie, not only the fact that radiation, that should be pretty obvious, but they do say the atomic breath works on a quantum scale. Now, I'm not the best for this, and I can't really sit here and talk about it like someone like possibly King of the Monsters could, but with this quantum scale and other stuff, you can make arguments that the subatomic calcs and atomic calcs and stuff like that can be usable. With this, for like full times and stuff, and quick times and stuff like that, you can get stuff around like 4.9 petatons, which is multi-continental, which is still consistent. There is an extreme high end you can get, which is 55.98 exatons and a little bit beyond. I've seen some for that, which is moon level, but after discussion stuff, there's not a lot necessarily backing this up. This is like a pretty high end. It's not something I would really use as stuff. Multi-continental stuff, that's like the consistent good stuff to use. I wouldn't really use the moon level stuff. It exists, but I just wouldn't really use it, guys. For this too, we do get some new speed calcs and stuff like that. For his atomic breath, which would be his prime speed, this would be his max speed. There are different calcs for it. For example, now through using his Hollow Earth stuff, you can get it to Mach 83.1, or that's high hypersonic plus. Note though that since he was blown to the core of the Earth, it likely did slow down his beam some. I mean, logically. Another way to consistently argue it is 10% the speed of light. So that's Mach 8,700, 400, or wait, my bad, 87,403 for his atomic breath. This is logical. It can still work. This is something that can't work. That's still, I believe, hypersonic plus, or massively hypersonic maybe. I'm not entirely for sure right now, but I mean, these calcs can work just going off some of the new like quantum scaling and the radiation and stuff. You can make light speed arguments, but they're not super consistent right now. There is some stuff for Mechagodzilla that's also kind of light speed arguments or close to, but again, there's just not much right now, and maybe we'll have to wait until after we get some BTS and stuff with the film to get it. For when he's running on all fours at Kong, you can get that to 513 miles per hour, which is subsonic plus, just for him running on all fours. It's much faster than he ran King of the Monsters. And for some interesting durability feats now, is, for example, when he tanks the axe to the face, basically. Now, this has been stated by the director to have actually made contact and exploded, and is also stated by the author to have not, of the novelization, to have not actually knocked Godzilla out, but instead stunned him for a period of time. He wasn't knocked out cold, he was just kind of stunned. That's how it was put, and we don't necessarily have a concrete way to measure the axe yet, so this could be a little iffy, but I'm going with the method of assuming the axe absorbs however much radiation from Godzilla's beam or the core is put into it, and that's what it does for the explosion, and it makes a mini nuclear pulse out of it. So going off the 3-minute calc and saying that is 26.27 gigatons per second, multiply that by 11 seconds for both the times Godzilla's beam hit the axe and charged it up. That's also speeding up when Kong jumped off the building and trying to predict what would be real time. Could be a little bit less, but you can get something around 288.97 gigatons for that mini nuclear pulse that hit him right in the mouth. Not just in the head, literally in his mouth. And the most you can argue is it knocked him out, but that didn't even happen with the new author statements. Godzilla just kind of tanks his own atomic breath. Also, if we use some other calcs and some other stuff, you can make 2-minute arguments for stuff, which saying that you're using like the 8 teraton calc, that's about 67.65 gigatons per second for 2 minutes. And if you do the 11 seconds, that's 744 gigatons in that explosion right to his mouth. And then if you really want to highball this, really want to highball this with the kind of vague, possibly arguable 10-second calc, or 10 seconds stated in the novel, that's about 811.9 gigatons per second. And using the whole 11-second, time slot, that would mean the explosion had 9 teratons in it, which is country level right to his mouth. And he just kind of walks it off. He does not care. He just tanks that. That's extremely impressive that he can tank that much multiplied by his just most arguably powerful weapon, not counting his nuclear pulse, of course. That's pretty insane. Not to mention you can probably even get higher ends, especially once you start using multi-continental calcs and stuff. I'm just using the more safer low ends that we have at the moment. So that's pretty insane. He just kind of got up after that. He was only stunned by this. And there's so many ways you can argue it. But Godzilla can easily take his own AP without damage. I'm kind of curious on how he would be able to tank his own nuclear pulse, like he did to Jinshin Mushi. He also took the charged axe to the leg. Didn't really care. And I do want to say for both of these, for when he took the axe to the leg and when he took the axe explosion to the face, don't forget, the axe was already charging prior to this. So you know what that means, right? That means the axe was already, there's extra energy already in this axe. It was already somewhat pre-charged, and then he charged it again with the core, and then he charged it for 11 seconds with his atomic breath. So the axe explosion likely scales much above even the numbers I gave you just now. He also survived the beating from Mechagodzilla, his direct counter, who also should have AP somewhat comparable to his. We'll get on to him later. And was able to take a long beating from him without going down. And finally, for some other stuff that's mostly stated in the novel and stuff like that, he was able to go, his beam's able to blast through a space-time rift without being affected anyway that we know of. In case you don't know what I'm talking about, the novel does confirm and describe the Hollow Earth like portals and stuff as space-time rifts, and there is a section between the hole that Godzilla blew to the core that does have a little bit of that space-time rift in it, and he just kind of blows through it. At bare minimum, what we can add is that Godzilla does he's immune to gravity manipulation, or can somewhat manipulate it in some way. There's likely some other arguments you can make, but at the moment, there's a lot here that we're still working on scaling, because this movie is still very fresh, and to this day, movies like 2014, King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island are getting new calcs all the time. So, for the time being, this is Godzilla. Well, guess it's time to move on to King Kong. Alright, now for King Kong. Now, for King Kong scaling, we're going to do this kind of in 3 different sections, sort of. We're going to do base Kong, Kong with the battle axe with no charge, and supercharged axe Kong. And I'm also going to be throwing in some different details that just kind of apply to all of them too. A lot of these feats and stuff do apply to Godzilla and Mechagodzilla. If not, they scale higher than them. So take that in note before we start this. So first up, let's talk about Kingdom Kong. Now, I've been holding out on making anything in the video. I don't know, I wasn't the best with but personal opinions aside, let's talk about it. There's basically nothing in this comic for scaling. You get more out of the movie for scaling than this comic. Literally, one of the big things is that Kong now is basically fully grown, and from what we know, he doesn't grow in power after this, and he eats things that used to almost eat him. That's basically it. There's not much there to it. He does fight Camazotz, but Camazotz is featless. Camazotz can survive a few hits from Kong. He kind of drops Kong a few times. They kind of do some blows back and forth. The military kind of helps Kong out, and Kong literally beats Camazotz while he's unconscious because he knocked himself out. Oh my god, I can't believe they did that. But Camazotz knocks himself out, and he's still, from what we can tell, survives a beating from Kong. He gets punched into a hole, and we still don't even know if he's dead. But no, there's not really anything here for Kong. It's basically all Camazotz feats. Maybe something to do with the storm. As I said, Kong's the only being who could survive it, but even then, I don't know. From there, let's move on to Chad GVK now. First up, let's talk about Base Kong. So he does have a lifting strength in the film that has been calculated. Whenever he opens the doors to his throne room, this has been calculated to 1,631,570 tons of force for like when he pushes the doors open. That's pretty awesome. Godzilla does have some calcs like this when he's swimming and stuff, but this is interesting. So now, for the Hollow Earth Vortex feat, this one's a bit interesting too, as it does have the whole quote of a planet's worth of gravity, and the novel even adds on to that because they could say it's like a Volkswagen in a black hole. I don't think necessarily should be taken literal, but it is a comparison, and I don't know. But we're just going off some calcs. People have calced it without. They just tried to test calcs, and there are some more safer ground kind of calcs. There's a 11.6 gigatons island feat with this. And what makes it more impressive is that heaves, which are specifically designed to completely tank this, they can literally, we see Nathan Linds's heave tank multiple ones of these throughout the movie. And these portals are able to put out that, and Kong's able to not only tank that multiple times, that 11.6 gigatons, trying to crush him and rip him apart, but he can also crush a heave with one hand, barely trying, which can tank this too. So that means Kong easily scales above this, and that's pretty consistent too, that he would scale quite a bit above this. And also, plus going on with that space-time rift, just like with Godzilla, so he probably does have immunity to gravity manipulations and such. There are a few times and statements in the novel that he was able to kind of get the upper hand on Godzilla somewhat. He was able to stun him a few times, knock him back. We see this in the movie with, for example, the aircraft carrier battle when he's able to punch Godzilla and give himself enough time to stand up because Godzilla kind of reels back. But beyond that, the only thing that really makes this the most impressive is that the author and Adam Wingard quotes from what we can get, Godzilla wasn't necessarily holding back on Kong per se, but he wasn't necessarily trying either in the first two rounds exactly. He wanted him to die, but he wasn't going all out. He wasn't enraged. It was kind of just a casual battle for him. Like I said, it wasn't like he was completely just laying back, but Godzilla did want to go for a quick win. He believed that he could cut Kong in half with his beam, but he didn't go all out in rage mode till round 3. So, good job on Kong for actually able to hold his own somewhat on a Godzilla that was trying, I guess. He also does survive quick shot to the back of the atomic breath. This is impressive because it stated that Godzilla can basically slice him in half if he wants to. His goal is, the reason he spams his beam is because he wants to slice him in half. Kong fears the atomic breath, fears what it can do to him. And what makes it the most impressive is that there's a straight statement that he has a huge weakness to fire and stuff. That's like one of his big weaknesses. So I wouldn't really use this to scale his durability per se, as he has a direct stated weakness to this. I would say it's more better to scale his durability based on like what he takes with Godzilla's blows later on, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, even with his weakness to fire specifically, where it can hurt him more than, say Ghidorah, he can still survive a quick shot without too much pain being shown. And one of his best feats in base is surviving an ass beating from Godzilla. An enraged Godzilla going out wanted to just murder him. Godzilla hits him with slams, stomps, claw swipes, literally like shit whips him with his tail. I mean, it's brutal. Godzilla's completely shredding him. Godzilla like breaks his arm. Just completely dislocates his shoulder. Yet Kong's able to survive and still even tries to fight back and doesn't bow. Kong's in a lot of pain. Godzilla kind of does cave his chest in. What's impressive about this, though, is because this is Godzilla in rage going all out with both of them being weakened from fighting for a while of time. This isn't the same as Godzilla when he was fighting in like Dominion and literally dying. Titans like Scylla and them basically got hit with somewhat a tail whip and they were freaking reeling. They were gone. They didn't want to be there. It is pretty impressive that Kong was able to take as much of a beating as he was without like instantly dying, especially seeing as some other Titans from a weakened Godzilla like literally got one-shotted by something, for example, as like a tail. So yeah, Kong does somewhat scale durability wise. He he definitely scales somewhat to Godzilla's AP. Definitely not all the way, because Godzilla still was able to beat his ass pretty bad, cave his chest in, kill him, break his arm and stuff. But it's kind of like a Kaiser in Final War situation where he was able to take quite a bit of a beating before completely going down. So good job, Kong. You were able to take an ass whooping, and that does count as a plus for you. And finally, the thing that I think kind of puts him high, I think this puts him right below Godzilla, actually, with all the other Titans alive. Multiple times in the novel, the movie, I think maybe Skull Island, Dominion, I think might have mentioned it. I know Kingdom Kong does. They mention multiple times that other than Godzilla, Kong is the only other Alpha Titan alive. Kong is an Alpha Titan, which is a very high prestige. That's like literally been stated to be its own class of Titans. Those are supposed to be the big dog Titans that literally beat everything else and rule the world. Kong's multiple times stated to be an Alpha Titan. Godzilla visits Kong's island often, check up on him, and make sure, because Kong is stated to possibly be the only Titan alive that poses any threat to Godzilla's reign as, well, the king of the monsters. So basically, with that being said, Godzilla does check up on him because they're rivals, and he does pose a threat possibly to the throne. And even though it doesn't really show, there is a chance there, and he is an Alpha Titan, which is literally anyone in that class scale is basically above everyone else. That's how they try to imply. Camazotz even woke up to beat Kong to take the Alpha status from him. That's literally what he wanted. He wanted to beat Kong and become an Alpha Titan. So this goes says a lot, when a Titan actually tries to challenge Kong for his Alpha reign. So that's basically it for just specifically base Kong for stuff. Now, with the axe, without any charge, it didn't even scratch Mechagodzilla. We do know from Dominion stuff and the novelization that the dorsal plate is a Godzilla bone. A dorsal plate. The axe blade is a dorsal plate, which is Godzilla's bones. If this is from our Godzilla, it's from a weaker time, obviously, or could be from a weaker one. But just assuming they didn't really consider that, or that Godzilla maybe was close in power, this possibly could scale to Godzilla in durability because it's literally bones from them. The only thing that could easily break it would be something like a prime. So definitely, this axe is pretty durable and likely has some pretty decent AP too. Although it doesn't even scratch Mechagodzilla, but it should be able to take a lot of blows before it completely goes out. Now with charge and with its supercharge, completely obliterates Mechagodzilla. Huge difference. It goes from not even scratching him, it only can just knock him back and make sparks fly off, to completely just shredding him. It can wound Godzilla in the leg, but it can't really do anything life-threatening. Hits him right in the mouth, and it doesn't do any damage. With enough of a charge, it can literally explode into a mini nuclear pulse, which is able to stun Godzilla, although it doesn't knock him out or anything specifically. And if I do want to throw this into in the King of Monsters novelization, they do mention that like a supercharged power-up dorsal plate does hurt King Ghidorah, although with that being said, it only stabbed his tail, which is a weaker part of his body, and from what we know, it didn't even do anything like penetrate bone or anything. So it's likely the same kind of case with Godzilla, where it can kind of break through the muscle and stuff, but it's likely not doing any of the major damage to like completely chop through bones and stuff that we know of yet. There's different levels of it and stuff, but at the moment, it completely shreds someone on the level of Mechagodzilla's durability. But someone like Godzilla, Ghidorah, and most likely Prime, it's probably not going to do much to them, even charged, other than break through some muscle and stuff. So, with that being said, let's talk about some speed real quick. So, on all fours, he's been calced to be able to run about 96.9 miles per hour. This is whenever he's in the Hollow Earth. When he's being bipedal and running, he's got calcs that get him about 101.5 miles per hour. And whenever he's swinging through Hong Kong, he's gotten some calcs to be 360.75 miles per hour while swinging across the city. All these are subsonic, and swing speed is almost subsonic plus. Finally, for intelligence, he's able to remember events and locations that he's never even seen, witnessed. I mean, as soon as he sees Godzilla for the first time, just the scent of him alone brings back memories, basically. He's never seen this creature, but a hatred just grows in him. He basically remembers the Godzilla species. He's able to remember where to go in the Hollow Earth and stuff. He has this nice Titan, remembrance. Not only that, but the species is stated to be able to do stuff like build statues. They can build a temple room. They've built multiple cities in the Hollow Earth. They Kong's able to do sign language and communicate with humans, and Kongs are also able to do art, which is pretty insane. They're able to do artwork, as we know, again, from novelization. They used to do stuff, for example, like pick up the Iwis and so they could put paint on their finger and put it on the walls. So, yeah, Kongs have, like, almost, if not human-level intelligence. Like, they could be smarter, possibly. There's, like, some stuff implying that. Kongs, like I said, were humans before humans. They can do anything, basically, a human can do. It literally shows them, like, discuss them building cities, doing paint, building statues. I mean, like, they can do art. They are extremely intelligent creatures, and that's pretty insane. Not to mention, Kong was shown able to figure stuff out before the scientists did sometimes. For example, whenever he's in the city, he figures out that his axe can charge via Godzilla's atomic breath faster than Mark Russell did, from what I remember from novelization. And he's able to figure out that if he puts his axe on the ground, it's charging via the core right beneath their feet, and the energy is right below them. Something that people like Maya Simmons, literally with the equipment telling them that it was right there, didn't even figure out. So yes, that's Kong. There you guys go. We'll get back to ranking him later. But yeah, he ain't bad. I would say he's right below Godzilla out of the alive Titans right now. It's going to be a different topic once we start bringing back like dead Titans. But for now, out of the current alive Titans, I would say he's right below Godzilla. So that's pretty good for him. But let's move on now to Project M, or Mechagodzilla.
It's time to show the world what you can do.
Alright, so let's move on to Mechagodzilla. Now, Mechagodzilla, I feel like I should say this off the bat so everyone kind of is on the same page. The art book has confirmed, well, before we even get on that, there's been multiple statements from Wingard and them that Godzilla and Kong were not at full power when fighting Mechagodzilla. And the art book backs this up because it actually straight up confirms that Godzilla and Kong are only at half their max strength. So that says a lot, especially when it comes to Godzilla, who, as we went through earlier, you know, he has insane stamina where he can do stuff for like 2 years straight. So, with that being said, I believe that a lot of this should be taken into account with a lot of these feats and scaling, and you can just keep that in the back of your head, as I will bring it up throughout some of the stuff. But to begin with this, we're going to first talk about the good stuff Mechagodzilla has, and we'll get on to the stuff later that's a bit more iffy. To start off, we have his speed. His speed's pretty insane. Mechagodzilla easily is probably the fastest anything in the Monsterverse. He's pretty insane. The art book does confirm that Godzilla is faster and more maneuverable, kind of in combat and on hand-to-hand, stuff like that. But that completely just goes south whenever you start throwing in the jet boosters. Now, these jet boosters practically can blitz a 50% tired Godzilla, if not completely blitz him to where, I mean, it's shown Godzilla can't really react. Godzilla's kind of trying to come up to fight Mechagodzilla, and Mechagodzilla uses jet boosters and just completely elbows him, spins around him before Godzilla can even turn and realize that Mechagodzilla is going behind him to try to catch him. I mean, Godzilla didn't even have the chance to do that. There is a good chance with these jet boosters, it's a completely different story. Again, this is a 50% powered Godzilla, although, would that completely affect his reaction speed a major extent? And if you guys don't know, Godzilla, I mean, he's pretty fast with reaction speed. He's able to fight and defeat Kong in hand-to-hand combat, fight people like Ghidorah and stuff, people who have reacted to his atomic breath, which we'll get on to more speed stuff later for that. So stick around until after this section because I have some updated information. With that, though, he's also able to react to a weakened tail swing in the novelization version. This might also count towards his durability, although, remember, this is from a 50% Godzilla, so it's possibly and likely not nearly as fast or as strong as a full power, because the tail swing it's a pretty powerful attack. Yeah, Kong was able to survive one, and I wouldn't necessarily say that Mechagodzilla, who has better durability, he should be able to survive one too. But the tail swing, again, here should be a fairly weakened one, seeing as Godzilla's only at half his max strength. He is stated to be more agile than all the other Mechagodzillas that came prior. That's up to you if you want to debate, because Kiryu's done some pretty insane stuff, but, take that however you will. He's able to react to multiple of Godzilla's tired attacks. He's shown if you slow down, for example, there's a scene where Godzilla tries to charge him in the movie, and Mechagodzilla easily catches Godzilla with his long arms, and then he kind of he can do stuff like react to Godzilla's atomic breath, which, again, we'll get on to the updated speed stuff later. With his Proton Scream, this is definitely his fastest attack, as it has been stated multiple times, other than the fact it's called a Proton Scream, which protons move close to the speed of light already. Although there's nothing official with the movie calling it this, it's more with Playmates. The Playmate stuff has called it a laser and stuff, and while I wouldn't necessarily take that as complete confirmation, there has been interviews with people who have worked on the film and, designed Mechagodzilla and worked with Wingard. And Wingard designed him with a laser lens. If you don't know what a laser lens is, basically it's what releases a laser light. Now, how fast is laser light? Well, normally in a vacuum, it's the speed of light. However, according to physicsworld.com, there was an experiment fairly recently, as of 2000, if you want to consider that recently, where they were actually able to get a laser that, like a laser pulse that was able to travel 300 times the speed of light. Now, the laser is a bit inconsistent in the movie, as there is a shot where it's kind of flame, which a laser wouldn't do. Although the rest of the scenes in the movie and stuff, it comes out like an actual laser. So that could just be one bad CGI inconsistent shot, because the rest, it looks completely fine. And it would make sense, as it is able to completely move way faster than Godzilla's beam. No one scales to this beam's speed, as no one's shown having reaction to it or anything. Everyone who takes it, would get blitzed by it, from what we know. The Skullcrawler couldn't do anything. No humans can. I mean, Godzilla, Kong, none of them really react to it. It's not like they can. They never really get the chance to. So, from what we know, this is like the fastest beam in the Monsterverse, but no one scales to it at the moment because no one is shown dodging, reacting, or anything like that. Now, let's get on to intelligence, which is another really strong point of this Mechagodzilla. He has actually made to counter all the Titans alive.
The same way that as humans we develop things to destroy humans perfectly, we've developed this monster to take on monsters in a perfect way.
This has been confirmed by Wingard, and his intelligence kind of stems in his berserk mode. In his base, he's kind of just like a human with a supercomputer aiding him, but in the final battle, he is a supercomputer along with King Ghidorah, who is a Titan killer in itself, a living extinction event. So you have the intelligence of King Ghidorah, possibly one of the smartest Titans alive, debatably with Kong, who literally has human-level intelligence. Plus, he has a supercomputer aiding him, which that just goes to say a lot about how impressively intelligent that already is. On top of that, he has learning algorithms. There's some deleted scenes in the movie and stuff that say this, but there is other stuff, as Wingard has kind of stated stuff before, such as he has learned Godzilla over time. He is stated capable of predicting his opponent's next move and reacting to it, and he should also be capable of learning his opponent during a fight, in the middle of a fight, to help aid him.
He's designed to know what Godzilla's next move is going to be and to outthink him and outgun him. Mechagodzilla is really created to foresee everything that Godzilla's going to do and do it better. And so really the first act of that entire fight scene before Kong joins in, it's really just showing how Mechagodzilla has been created to be superior to Godzilla in every way. In the same way that as humans we develop things to destroy humans perfectly, we've developed this monster to take on monsters in a perfect way.
And basically overall, he's extremely intelligent, and he can predict basically his opponent's going to do. So mixing that with speed, that's pretty devastating. You can get a pretty devastating weapon there. But does his attack potency, strength, durability, does all of that scale? Well, let's start with his attack potency. It's likely still in the continental ranges, especially with his max power, but we'll get on to all that here in a second. However, a lot of his physical blows don't show to do much physical damage to Godzilla. His punches at worst seem to actually cause Godzilla just a black eye. That literally is basically the worst wound we see Godzilla take from his physical punches, that we can tell at least. There's this statement where he may be able to punch harder than Godzilla can, as Wingard at one point says something about he can react to everything Godzilla does and do it better. This wouldn't be consistent with his proton scream and stuff, but this could possibly mean he is able to strike harder, although that doesn't mean much because Godzilla has shown plenty of times he can take blows far beyond his normal attack potency. He does it in the film itself where he takes the axe pulse and stuff to the face, which is at least the addition of, the core's pre-charge energy plus all of his atomic breath in it, takes it right to the face, fine. So he may be able to punch harder than Godzilla, but he can't really do anything to Godzilla's durability, unlike someone like Ghidorah, for example. Godzilla is not only implied by Wingard to be stronger, but he's also shown in the film to be physically stronger, as, for one thing, we see Godzilla literally overpower him whenever they collide. Godzilla doesn't really get knocked back by Mechagodzilla, while Mechagodzilla is kind of thrown back a bit, not to mention with his 50% atomic breath, half-strength atomic breath, if not less by this point, since he's taken a beating and fight Mechagodzilla for a bit, there is a chance that this beam actually, it was holding back Mechagodzilla's proton scream for quite a bit until Mechagodzilla had to, put more ass into it, basically, and, to be able to win that beam lock. And Wingard has went on to state that if they were to do this full power to full power, Godzilla would basically win a beam lock between him and Mechagodzilla, just further proving that Godzilla at full power is definitely much stronger. With this, Wingard has also said that Godzilla would do better in a fight if he was at full power.
This scene used to be much more of a Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, battling it out, and there was a lot more give and take, and ultimately, it just didn't work. It was like, at the end of the day, the only thing that that really made sense to show in this part was Godzilla just getting his ass handed to him. I mean, Mechagodzilla is designed to take on Godzilla, and Godzilla, by the way, I think would probably do a lot better in this fight if he hadn't have just gone a couple rounds with Kong. I mean, Godzilla's pretty tired. I mean, he hasn't had a chance to really slow down this entire movie. I mean, presumably he's been swimming around and, going nuts in the ocean when he's not on screen, and so when Mechagodzilla comes out, they just, he doesn't have a lot of reserves left in him, and so it's a bit unfair. I like this set.
But due to being weakened, he definitely just could not perform as well. With that, the proton scream, though, Mechagodzilla's arguably strongest attack, is able to basically instantly burn Godzilla, and is able to cause him enough pain to where he does kind of cry out. However, sadly, it doesn't really do much physical damage other than burn him. I mean, there's no major damage shown. It doesn't penetrate the skin or anything. It just does exterior burns. Wingard has implied, though, that the Kiss of Death would kill Godzilla, as he does believe that the only way for Mechagodzilla to actually pull off a win against Godzilla is to attack him eternally. But he has also said in the commentary that he's not sure if even Mechagodzilla's, beam and proton scream could even kill Godzilla like that with the Kiss of Death. We don't know how strong his organs are. Although before this, though, Wingard was pretty certain that the Kiss of Death would kill him. So for now, we're gonna argue that the Kiss of Death could kill Godzilla.
And he was going to dispatch Godzilla in the same way that Godzilla killed the Muto in the first film by blowing an atomic breath down his throat. In retrospect, I think it's probably the only way just about that I can imagine Godzilla actually going down, because his skin is impenetrable. I think the only way you can get in there is blow his guts out, and I think Mechagodzilla was really close to doing it,
That would mean Mechagodzilla, to win this fight, would have to get in on him. But it does mean that internally, Mechagodzilla's beam would be strong enough to kill Godzilla. To aid this, there's nothing confirming this is the case, but his plasma punches do seem to do internal damage and a durability neg. Every time he lands a blow on Kong or Godzilla with these punches and knees and all of them, you see the inside of Godzilla and Kong's body light up. You see their ribs, their organs, their bones. You see all that, their veins even. This implies, that the inside of their body is getting attacked and lit up. This would actually go on to go with the fact that Mechagodzilla would have to attack internally to win. As we see his physical damage don't really do anything to Godzilla. And basically this would mean that, well, he needs to literally attack Godzilla internally with his plasma punches and proton scream to be able to even kill him. He should still be stronger than Kong. He didn't even consider Kong a threat until Kong got the axe, which then he seemed more annoyed than anything. Wingard did state that Godzilla does kind of faint from Mechagodzilla, but it's after a long beating, and Godzilla was already 50% when they started. So Mechagodzilla also has tons of attacks and techs. He has all these rockets and tail drill and all that. But the tail drill we never see actually do damage to anyone or anything, and his rockets don't do any damage to Godzilla. I mean, they kind of hurt him. They make him kind of scream, but they don't really slow down his charge at all, and Godzilla just comes in, even while taking those rockets, still overpowers Mechagodzilla. Overall, it is likely possible that his punches and stuff, since they are able to hurt Godzilla, to kind of, they're likely still somewhat in the continental ranges, although they're never really shown doing any major damage to him, especially if he truly can only win with internal damage. Now on durability, there are two ways that this can be argued at the moment. There's two different sides of the coin. Some people argue he's a glass cannon. If you don't know what a glass cannon is, and these dudes exist in fiction, that basically means he can strike very, very hard, but he can't take attacks nearly on the same level, because normally people usually can take as much as they can dish out, and fictional creatures and stuff. But here, some people argue that Mechagodzilla is an example of a glass cannon, someone who can't take what he can dish out. There's another argument that his durability scales to his attack potency, which I personally agree with. The reason why is because none of Mechagodzilla's physical attacks do any damage to Godzilla, and even his Proton Scream, all it does is burn Godzilla from what we see, even after staying on him and expanding on his chest after a long while. The base axe doesn't even really scratch Mechagodzilla. I mean, Kong's able to knock him over with it, but there's zero damage shown from the base axe. It kind of just scratches off his thing, like his armor. But it's like it does zero damage to him. However, once it does get supercharged, it is able to completely shred Mechagodzilla. To put this in perspective, a supercharged axe from Kong during the Hong Kong battle, it was able to cut into Godzilla's leg and bypass that, but it's not shown able to break bone or anything, and it's even confirmed to smack Godzilla right in the mouth by Wingard and the novelization and stuff, but it only stuns him, doesn't even knock him out or do any major damage. So yeah, Mechagodzilla with a weakened Kong swinging it and a weakened Atomic Breath charging it after with no charge prior, gets absolutely shredded by it. So I do personally think that his durability does scale to his AP, as he's not able to survive the axe, and the axe was able to do some damage to Godzilla, but nothing deadly or major or anything, while also on top of that, Mechagodzilla's physical blows and even his strongest attack were never shown capable of doing anything major to Godzilla. You know, his punches, for example, never really do any external damage beyond just a black eye. Although, I would say it's pretty certain that his durability and AP and stuff, again, should scale above Kong. The only way Kong would have better attack potency would be with a charged axe. But he definitely scales easily below people such as Ghidorah, Full Power Godzilla, and more than likely Muto Prime, who all kind of scale to each one another. So, that is Mechagodzilla. So finally, we're at the point now where we can go over and give any updated information, because I was dumb and I made the Godzilla and Kong parts back in April because I was like, we'll be fine, they won't give any new updated information, I think we got everything settled, this is fine, we'll be fine. Yeah, no, they gave new information that changed quite a bit. So we're going to go over that now. First up, with the speed stuff that I was talking about, there's a new highball argument for Monsterverse speed, beyond just Mechagodzilla's, who was kind of always there because the laser, except no one scale to it. Godzilla's speed. So I actually got my hands on a Japanese guide for 2014, which confirmed that Godzilla's Atomic Breath has Cherenkov radiation. Now, if you don't know what Cherenkov radiation is, it's a type of radiation that basically it has to move faster than light, from what I've read. Basically, no matter what, it's anything with this kind of radiation exceeds the speed of light. Characters are shown, such as Ghidorah and Kong, to be able to somewhat react to this. Now, for some of these examples, you can argue they don't scale completely to it, because Godzilla beam does take some time to charge up, and they kind of were able to see it coming, and so they're even their near point blank dodges, they kind of were prepared already. Although you can also highball that they do if you use stuff such as Kong, for example, who is shown when you slow down, he's able to move the axe fast enough to catch something faster than the speed of light. That just goes to show that there is a chance that, well, someone like Kong, for example, who Godzilla is able to 1v1 and defeat hand to hand, is able to react to something like this. He Kong catches it with his axe twice. So yeah, there is a chance that there is a faster than light meta here, and someone like MG, for example, probably would scale much above that, since he can blitz Godzilla in them, but they could at least be relative to light, possibly. There's a few ways you can argue it, but this does introduce a new highball to the Monsterverse speed that I did not have back when I originally made the Godzilla part, and this just kind of aids and adds to it. So for something that's pretty major that I did not have before, in the director's commentary, new interviews, old interviews, there's so much stuff right now, it's ridiculous, the art book. Basically, it confirms that Kong ain't got shit on Godzilla, is as much as I can put it. I'm literally just going to show everything on screen now. Wingard has said multiple times Godzilla's just having fun in the Hong Kong battle and the aircraft battle. He's never trying till round 3, and by round 3 he's pissed off, and as soon as he's trying, as soon as he gets his hands on Kong, it's game over. Kong literally can't do anything, snaps Kong's arm and murders him.
Sort of a mock-up of this. It was different, but the very similar to what that ended up being. There's the bitch slap. Godzilla, who already has an advantage just from being Godzilla, has the water, which, Kong is not good at dealing with.
If you look at Godzilla really carefully, he knows that he's kind of just playing with Kong the entire time. If you look at the ship battle fight, they had that kind of moment where Kong is almost drowned and he's laying on the boat, and Godzilla shows up and they're kind of staring each other down. Godzilla's kind of laughing at him and okay, just stay right there and we're good, and I think the whole time, Godzilla kind of thinks that they're sort of having fun. If Kong dies, whatever, he doesn't really care, but he's not really too worried about it.
Not that you really think that's going to happen, but and Godzilla, he's my interpretation, and maybe this is going to be controversial, but I don't think Godzilla is ever afraid that for a second he's going to lose any of these fights. I think that he's playing with Kong. I think that it's life and death for Kong. Kong's trying to stay afloat, but trying to stay alive. But at the end of the day, Godzilla's Godzilla. You can't kill Godzilla, basically. I think Mechagodzilla comes close. I think maybe if he had blown that red beam down his throat, Muto style, that would have done him up. But potentially, who knows? We don't know what Godzilla's insides are made of. It might be just as strong. So who knows? But come on. Godzilla's on the ocean. look at him. He's smiling here, right? He's having fun. Kong is not having fun. This scene, I should say, is this was inspired heavily from my cat. Throw in some of the electronic stuff. Oh, I love Godzilla laughing right there. Godzilla's having fun. He's not really worried about losing. He's really not. I know maybe it seems like he is at certain parts. He's got something to do. He's here to go get Mechagodzilla and take him out. Oh, by the way, Godzilla's not worried about Kong. He's just having fun. He's here to get Mechagodzilla. He knows that Mechagodzilla is the threat. He maybe doesn't know what Mechagodzilla is, but he knows that there's something here that he's got to kill. And he has no problem killing Kong. But at the end of the day, it's this is not his fight. He's okay, this guy thinks he's all that, and I'll show him up. I will admit he's probably pretty surprised for this to happen here, as he looks right here. Yeah, he looks pretty surprised. So Godzilla kind of gets the upper hand pretty quickly, and again, this kind of goes back to my whole thing, which is Godzilla knows he's going to win. He's okay, I'm getting done. You know, the difference is now is Godzilla's really pissed off. He got hit in the face with that axe, and he's like, I'm over this. That's why Godzilla fights a little dirtier than we're used to seeing. He gets on the ground. You know, he's not just taking it easy more. He's like, I am going to kill this guy. He's really annoying me. He's trying to take him out, you know? And so, yeah, I love these, you know, these shots of him crawling around. It's something a little bit different, you know, that we're not used to getting to see. Again, this was me, like, you know, like, should this have been gorier? Probably, but, you know, I didn't want it to be too disturbing for that. But I knew that Kong's victory was going to be the Rocky victory. You know, you don't actually have to win to be a winner. It's about not giving up, and Godzilla respects that in that moment. That's what's going on there, is Godzilla could kill him. I mean, we've already set up early on that if Godzilla thinks he wins, you know, he doesn't have to kill you. You know, he can kind of, you know, walk away, you know, just like he does with the boats. But I think there's a genuine moment of respect with Godzilla and King Kong in there, where Godzilla sees that Kong's not going to give up. He knows that he's won, and I love that. I love that kind of, nonverbal dialogue that the monsters get to have.
And the final scene between Godzilla and Kong is like the ultimate example of that, where they sort of have this truce. Kong saying like, okay, yeah, you're the boss, but I am giving you this. And so him dropping it actually is a sign of respect to Godzilla.
And yeah, I mean, like, the art book, you know, says no match. Godzilla has been stated to be stronger, have an advantage just from being Godzilla. I mean, there's so many statements that Godzilla is much above Kong. It's not even funny. So, even though I've always thought, obviously, Godzilla is above Kong, he won, I don't think it necessarily changes everything. I still think Kong possibly can beat, like, all the other alive Titans below Godzilla and them. I still think that argument is there since he's an alpha tier. It's just Godzilla's a really damn strong alpha tier. I mean, he's up there with, like, the gods of the verse. So, it's not necessarily, like, that still can't be argued. It's just that Wingard has confirmed that Kong's not really anything to Godzilla. But most Titans really aren't, besides the highest ups, you know. With that, I don't think there's really much else I need to update. I mean, we got that Godzilla, you know, the radiation stuff that I found in an old guide, and stuff from, you know, King of the Monsters and Godzilla vs. Kong does back up sort of this whole radiation thing with the quantum scale and stuff discussion, that, yeah, this radiation is possible, and it is a possible highball for the Monsterverse, if you use it. And obviously that was scaled directly to Godzilla's beam. How you want to argue their hand-to-hand reaction stuff, that's a different debate. Just depends on how you see it with the dodges and stuff like that. And then, obviously, like I said, Wingard is basically confirmed. Godzilla is much above. But that's basically it. This video has been a few months in the making because I made the Godzilla and Kong part. I've been sitting around waiting to be uploaded. Why I waited to get all the information I could in Mechagodzilla to get a clear thing. So, the final thing is, in terms of power, base Kong's lowest. Then I think it should be Mechagodzilla. Then I think it should be Kong. I think Kong with the axe might have more power, maybe, than Mechagodzilla. It's kind of hard to argue. I mean, I would say so, since the charged axe is actually able to do something to Godzilla, even if not major. While Mechagodzilla was throwing everything he has at Godzilla, and he just had to keep beating him, and it wasn't doing much. Even Wingard tried to imply in the novelization that Godzilla had the fight under control and might have been able to come back at some point, which that's not really backed up with the movie, but I mean, if you want to use that argument, I guess. Obviously, Godzilla is the top dog, though. So, thank you guys for watching. I really do hope all you guys enjoyed. I really appreciate it. And, yeah. We'll have some more videos coming up. I'm going to be working on a singular point scale video. Hopefully to get that out within the next week. After this is uploaded, that's my goal, though no promises. And then we have a couple battles coming up, which one of you guys knows, Muto Prime versus Godzilla, or Mechagodzilla, which I was going to do first, but I was like, I decided last second, I'll just kind of upload them close together. And then I have another battle coming up that I think you guys are going to be surprised of, that really there's no point in doing, because it's an interesting battle. We'll just say that. You guys will see soon enough. But I do hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for sticking around with me. I really appreciate it. Many people, so many people to thank for this. Godzilla King of the Monsters, Xeno. I think Dennis might have helped me. Someone named Dennis Tyrant. Mario. I mean, they know who they are. Some of the people who have helped me with this video. There's a lot. There's plenty of people who help give me information and stuff. And you know who you are, and I'll try to make sure I get everyone in the description and comments or whatever. Again, though, thank you to all you guys, and thank you to everyone for watching. Peace out, and bye-bye.